question, if that's okay. You were talking about hindrances earlier, and maybe you could talk a bit about the relationship between restlessness and distraction. If you feel very strongly, because I was reading the thing saying that distraction is often just a reaction to emotion that isn't fully felt, and it manifests then as the hindrance of restlessness, or sort of they usually the same thing. And distraction is what leads you away from virtue. So
that's interesting. Sounds like you can talk a bit about virtue. So, would that have been picked up on here or not? Would this have picked up the question?
I don't know.
Maybe not. So I'll see if I can repeat. So the question is about the relationship between distraction and restlessness, the hindrance of restlessness. And you're mentioning it, having read about how distraction is often a way that we keep from experiencing unfelt feelings that maybe need to be felt. And also that distraction leads away from virtue. Is that what you said? How did you put that?
Yes.
The distraction leads away from virtue. That's very interesting. So distraction, I mean, I think we live in an era of distraction. It's all about distraction, isn't it? So it's a big one. And definitely very much related to restlessness, because like the next thing, scrolling and whatever it is, browsing, and there's just so many. There's an endless supply now, which there never was before. Actually, there's an endless supply of entertainment, of information, of pretty much whatever you want to put your mind to. You can find huge amounts of information on, which is a new thing. It's not. I don't think humans have had this before. And distraction and restlessness. I think. Let me see if I go back to the sort of just the hindrance itself of restlessness, and sometimes it's restlessness and agitation, or restlessness and anxiety. It's what's going on in the body is there's too much energy, generally with the hindrance of restlessness, and then there's a kind of a moving away from the present. With all of the hindrances, it's moving away from the present. So with the hindrance of restlessness, it's often about something, trying to get away from what's here or going towards something in the future, and that's also where the anxiety comes in. Because anxiety is very much related to thoughts about the future. Because when we're really present, sometimes there's something to be afraid of, occasionally, something happens very occasionally in a life. It's not that often that we need to be really afraid, for many people. But the thoughts about the future, perhaps even just not knowing, create a sense of anxiety. So trying to know what we don't know, trying to be certain about what is uncertain creates anxiety. So that's sort of the classic hindrance. And then distraction, yes. Then I've noticed on retreat sometimes. I might go into retreat, particularly if it's a shortish retreat. And then the mind won't settle, and it just wants to be distracted. And it won't settle, and I don't understand, why is it not settling? Why won't it settle? And it won't settle. And then at some point, some big thing erupts that needed to be felt, and the sort of conscious mind didn't want to feel it, was afraid of it. But then it kind of comes up anyway. And then it comes up, and and sometimes it's sometimes it's catharsis, sometimes there's a lot of emotion that might come with it, and then that all comes up and is released, and then there can be settling. So I think the conscious mind is always trying to whether it's conscious or unconscious, I don't know, but there's this constant trying to manage everything, protect, manage, and keep us away from the difficult feelings that we've, I'm not sure the word is, that we've pushed away, I suppose. So yeah, now we can just distract in so many ways. Games. I mean, it's amazingly, I don't even know the big tip of the iceberg, actually, to be honest, of the things that you can do nowadays, how elaborate it is. But there's so many ways you can distract yourself. Go into a fantasy, people live in whole fantasy worlds. They have complete different persona, live in a different world. It's like, at one time this was in the mind, and now it's sort of, it's still in the mind, but it's like there's a whole sort of virtual reality that's been created in order to do that. So this is, it's not the path. So the path is directly connected with sati, presence, and ethics, and understanding the nature of things. And I think this is something now that we've got more and more further and further away from being close to the nature of things. So at one time maybe only the very wealthy people could live in a sort of an environment where the heat was managed, where you could be comfortable in the hot or in the cold, and where you didn't have to work in the fields or whatever, the food would just come to you, maybe you didn't even have to work in the kitchen. The very wealthy people would have that. And now that's kind of more normal. And then living in cities, we get further away from nature. And then the virtual world that has unlimited distractions, that not just distractions, but they pull you in. They want your attention. So we can live in a very fabricated reality, and it's hard to see the Dhamma when you're living in a fabricated reality. So when you're in nature, trees are teaching the Dhamma, rocks are teaching the Dhamma, water is teaching the Dhamma, the sky is teaching the Dhamma. It's all teaching, because it's the truth of the way things are. And I think with the virtual world and with the all of the possibilities for distraction, it's hard to see the Dhamma. And then you can, we were speaking, I think just this morning actually, about, maybe yesterday, about how many games are about shooting and killing and, or, there's a lot of stuff around that where you can get excited about, you're not actually harming anyone physically, but you can get excited about killing and shooting and becoming a monster or whatever you want to do. And it's a delusory state. So I don't really know. I mean, I'm interested to hear actually about the relationship of distraction and loss of virtue. It's not something I've really thought about a lot actually, but I kind of have a sense you might have more than I have.
I just came across this, it was in the Lion's Roar actually, but it was talking about distraction, external distraction, it's also internal distraction. And how the internal distraction could lead you away from being, I assume, interpreting it a bit like lead you away from being able to make right decisions.
Yeah.
So you're confused.
Right, makes sense. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think also that sometimes there's something big going on, so somebody has a very serious illness, and then I'm just thinking about a few different people I know who have. And then you don't really want to have to attend to it. It's like you can't do anything about it, perhaps, or very little, and then you don't really want to have to dwell in it, and then you distract through many ways. And not necessarily harmful ways, but just ways of keeping above the whole thing. And I had the good fortune to get to know this woman who lived in Seattle. I met her when she had stage 4 cancer, so terminal cancer. And she had a very bright presence, and she had this amazing practice. She's just a meditator, and she was very clear about what was important and what wasn't. And she listened to a lot of teachings, and she did go through some quite difficult times, but by the end of her life she was really clear about what was important and what was not important, and she was able to be really, really present with that process of dying. And I saw her a couple of days before she died, and it was just really a testimony to her practice, her presence, of not distracting. And I asked her, "How's your mind?" She was like in a hospital bed. She was at home, but in a hospital bed, and clearly very close to death. And I asked her, "How's your mind?" And she said, "Open, spacious, clear." I was like, "Oh, that's wonderful." "How's your heart?" And she, so much joy. So that was where she was, just a few, like hours really, before dying, in pain and all of that. But her mind was open, clear, spacious. Her heart was joyful. She was a little bit excited about the journey, because she'd really dedicated herself to presence and worked through what was in the way, I guess. And I think that it can be when something, often that's like a really big thing, and we can have not so big things that are difficult that we just don't want to deal with. So we stay above them, and they remain there, waiting for our attention. So it is a real important skill actually to learn how to feel feelings. It's very simple. It's amazing how much of the things we do in our life are about trying to get nice feelings and get away from difficult feelings. And it's just a feeling. The Buddha talks about feeling like a bubble, like if it's raining in a puddle and a little bubble comes up, boop, and then it pops. So the feeling is like that. It's so insubstantial, and yet we do so much to try and get a nice feeling, keep the nice feelings, push the difficult feelings away. So learning how to know a feeling term as a feeling term, Vedana, know how to experience Vedana as Vedana, feeling term as feeling term, is a very great tool for freedom. Because it's impossible to only experience pleasant. They always come together, pleasant, unpleasant and neutral, that's just how it is, they all come along. So learning how to drop down a bit. And this is why I quite like to meditate with the belly rather than with the nostrils. So I think with the nostrils, you're aware of the breath in the nostrils, you can stay in your head. Whereas if you come down into the belly, you kind of need to be in your body. And then it's that embodiment that invites a stability from which you can start to feel what needs to be felt. Does that make sense? Any more questions, please? It can be very simple. Yes, please.
When I practice mettā, I find it difficult for myself to keep the balance between, quite how to explain it, but there's so much suffering, and sometimes I'm too emotional about it. And sometimes I think I have to take a step backwards from it, but then I feel like it's a kind of indifference or lack of interest, and then I don't feel good about my Buddhist practice, and I can't seem to find a balance between to get too much involved in the suffering,
Yes.
and practicing mettā in a healthy way.
Thank you. It's a very important question. I think you're probably not the only one. Yeah, thank you. So the Buddha, the way the Buddha teaches metta is really about the heart here, the mind. So he's really pointing to generating the qualities, the energy field. It's an actual energy field of metta, and just like generating it here and letting it spread throughout your body first. And I can do guided meditation on that this afternoon now. So you're not going straight to thinking about. So I think in some of the Burmese traditions it goes through these lists of people, and although it is taken from the Metta Sutra, I think, but in the actual teachings that the Buddha gave, the meditation instruction that the Buddha gave on the 4 Brahma Viharas, or metta, karunā, muditā, upekkhā, he's not talking about me and them, and it's actually just about generating the quality in the heart and then letting it radiate, not limiting it. So when you do it that way, you're focusing here, actually, right at your heart center, and you're not thinking so much about the world, what's going on in the world, but you're focusing here. You're not even thinking about yourself, because sometimes people can't have metta for themselves also. So you're not thinking, oh no, but I can't stand myself. It's not even going there. You're just at your heart. And sometimes it's helpful to touch your heart when you're doing it, and then you're bringing to mind something that will brighten your heart, that will make your heart smile, and bring that sense of metta. It's almost like a sun or like a warmth. So it's something that opens that up, and then once it's opened up, then you take care of it. So you don't have to keep thinking about the person or the whatever it is that's opened that up, but you've got to just, once it's opened the heart, and maybe there's a bit of brightness in there. It might be just a little tiny candle or something. That's okay. You just take care of that. But then you bring your attention to that quality of metta, and then you just invite it to get stronger. So I do it with the breath, breathing in, bringing more fuel to the metta, breathing out, letting it spread, breathing in, more fuel, and breathing out, letting it spread, and then gradually, you're not forcing it in any way. It's just very natural but intentional. And then gradually this quality of metta grows, and then you let it spread all throughout your body. So your body and mind are receiving the metta, and then you just break down the barriers between your body and everything else, and just let it radiate out. And when you do it in that way, you generate like a field here of strength, of that quality. And then when you encounter the difficulties in the world, which you will, that you have it's like a reservoir. You have a reservoir of metta here. You're not just trying to spend what you don't have, you could say. And it's difficult because there is so much suffering, and there is so many things wrong, that so many things to feel upset about. And yet to go down that road doesn't. I mean, if it's just leading to more suffering in yourself and a shutting down, then it's not helpful. So even also with karunā, with the compassion practice, I used to be very much like you. It's just like my heart was out here, and it'd be like, oh, isn't it so painful? And actually, Venerable Anālaya gave me very clear instruction around that. There's a bhikkhu, German bhikkhu who lives in America now. I was on a retreat with him, and we were practicing the 4 Brahma Viharas, the 4 heart qualities, and I was doing it that way, and then he was giving this very clear instruction that not to do that. And they're saying you just have your attention really deep inside, and you hold the intention that may all beings, this is for compassion rather than metta, may all beings be free from suffering, no, free from harm. May all beings be free from harm or any intention to harm. So that's the sort of, you hold that, so it's kind of going right to the very cause of suffering in a way. It's like wanting to harm others or being harmed by others. That's the very cause of suffering. So you go right there to the root, and then you say, may all beings be free from that. And that's a really deep wish. And when you practice in that way, it's so different. It's very, very beautiful actually, because your heart isn't out here. It's really deep inside, and then that intention can grow really strong. So maybe we can try that. Thank you. I think it might be time for a chant actually, just to lift the energy a little bit. Of the four, and it is the four Brahma Viharas. It's a reflection on. It's called The Reflection on Universal Well-Being, and it's bringing to mind the qualities of mettā, loving kindness, karunā, compassion, muditā, appreciative joy, and upekkhā, equanimity. Do people try and pardon English? Is that English? So we're going to try both. We're going to try the Pali and the English. Let's do the English first, then you know what you're chanting. Let us chant the reflections on universal well-being. May I abide in well-being, in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may I maintain well-being in myself. May everyone abide in well-being, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may they maintain well-being in themselves. May all beings be released from all suffering, and may they not be parted from the good fortune they have attained. When they act upon intention, all beings are the owners of their action, and inherit its results. Their future is born from such action, companion to such action, and its results will be their home. All actions with intention, be they skillful or harmful, of such acts they will be the heirs. Handamayam brahmavihara paranam karomase aham sukhito homi niduko homi alilo homi adyachacho homi ami Sabbe sattā abhaya hontu, sabbe sattā abhaya panja hontu, sabbe sattā anika hontu, sabbe sattā sukhiyatana pariharantu, sabbe sattā sabba dukkha pamucchantu, sabbe sattā malabdha sampatito vigachantu, sabbe sattā kammasaka kammadayata kammayoni kammabandhu kammapatisarana yam kammam karisanti kalyanam va papakam va tasadayata pavisanti. So let's generate some mettā for our own benefit and the benefit of all beings. And if you feel sleepy anytime, you can stand up and you can still practice standing. So finding that posture for meditation. And just checking in where you're starting from. So if you're sleepy, you don't want to get too concentrated because that makes you more sleepy. You don't want to try and concentrate. If you're sleepy, you want to energize your body and mind. If you're restless, you want to calm the body and mind. So we're going to practice in the way that I was just describing. And if it's helpful, you can just touch your heart center to connect. So as you breathe in, I'd like to invite you to breathe into your heart center. So not your beating heart, but the heart center, the energy center in the middle of your chest. So as you breathe in, just breathing naturally, but as you breathe in, just have a sense of that you're breathing right into your heart center. As you breathe out, you're letting go of any blocks, any clutter. So that the breath is almost like water bathing your heart. And I like to think that at any given time, somebody somewhere is practicing mettā for all beings. So we want to not let that go to waste. And so you can breathe in that quality of mettā that's being generated. Let it bathe your heart. And breathing out, letting go. And if it's helpful, you can have an image of brightness in the heart, like a little light in the heart center. And if you don't feel much mettā, just maybe bring to mind someone who's been dear to you, someone who's been kind, somebody you know or somebody you don't know. Just a quality of kindness. And breathing that in. Taking it in. So as you breathe in, you're strengthening the mettā. As you breathe out, let it spread throughout your body now. In all directions. Keeping that intention with each breath. Just staying with the process of strengthening and radiating this quality of mettā, friendliness. Letting it get brighter, stronger. Focusing on this quality, this energy. Warm, bright, benevolent, unconditional. And just notice, be aware of the thinking mind can get in the way. Can try to intercept cynicism or doubt or trying to overwhelm you with something or distract. And just coming back to the heart center. Letting the quality of mettā get stronger and brighter. And if the quality is getting stronger, you don't have to limit it to your body. Just let it, keeping it really centered in your heart center, the brightness, the source, you could say, of the energy right here in your heart center. Just letting it spread out through your body and out into the room, in all directions. And just as the sun doesn't discriminate, I'm going to shine on that person but not on that one. It just shines. It's not concerned about who it's shining on, where it's shining. It's just shining. It's just radiating. So it's the same with the quality of mettā. We just generate that brightness and warmth of mettā like a little sun in the heart. And we let it radiate in all directions for the benefit of all beings. And it has the quality of being boundless and limitless. So for a moment you could just imagine that there's like a veil between you and the rest of the world around you. And you're just going to draw back that veil. So starting on your left, you're going to pull it away in front of you so that that mettā can shine as far as it wants to go. It might not be very far, it might be just a little glow. But there's no limits. And then keep pulling that veil away to the right, behind you, to the left, all the way around until nothing is limiting it. And your breath and attention keep strengthening the center so that it can radiate out. And if you find you only have a little night light in there, the tiniest of flames, tend to that. Even a tiny flame can dispel darkness. So we're coming to the end of the formal metta practice. But you can still keep the metta awake in your heart with a little care.